اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما بقية الله الأعظم روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Life is three-dimensional. There are three dimensions to life. And that's what we have been discussing for the past 3 weeks about life. What is life? Because when we want to live our life, we need to know what it is first. And the way Allah describes life is so interesting and so pleasant that it is natural with what we actually want from life. What is the first thing that you want from life? Everyone. What is it that you want from life? The first thing that you want. And when you actually look inside, you will see the answer is, I want this life to be forever. I do not want this to end. And that's the first characteristic of life. That's the length of life. You are alive forever. Then there's a height of life. Height of life is what you achieve and what you become. And then there's a width of life, which we will discuss later. Right now I'm discussing regarding the height of life. And we want to just finish that off so that we can get to the width of life. So you understand what life is. What are you doing now? Because most people and the fact is that if a person does not know what life is, he doesn't know what Islam is in his life. He has no clue. He has no clue what is the role of Imam Ali in my life. When you look at your life and Imam Ali, where does Imam Ali fit in your life? We admire Imam Ali. We are fans of Imam Ali. We follow Imam Ali also. But we don't know what he is in our life because we don't know what life is. We need to know what life is, then you'll understand where Imam Ali fits in my life, where Imam Hussain fits in my life, where Deen fits in my life. And that's why when you look at the teachings of Ahlulbait, they did not start with Tawheed. They didn't start with Nabuwat or Qiyamat. Ahlulbait, when they want to teach Islam, they started with life. To teach life first. What is life? So that you know where does Deen fit in your life. And that's what we want to know first. What is life itself? And the height of life is what we gain and what we make of ourselves. Now, for those people, again, as a recap in 2 minutes, the length of life, Allah is going to make you live forever. No one is going to be finished. The life that you have right now is not going to end. Nobody's life is going to end. Allah has given life forever. It has been divided into 2 things, 2 periods. One is a very short period that you're experiencing right now. One is an eternal period that you will experience after you die. This is just the same life with 2 phases. There's 2 phases. Now, when you look at the length of life, which is forever, then when you try to compare the life of this world to forever, then this becomes meaningless. I mean, what is 70 years, 80 years? And if you live more than 80 years, you wish that you didn't. Right? I mean, obviously, I mean, so the thing is that, this life that we have, which is for whatever age that we're living, you look at the length, it's meaningless. It has no value. But now when we look at the height of life, which is what we make of ourselves in Akhirat, where do you want to be in Akhirat? Which neighborhood do you want to live in? Do you want to live next to Imam Hussein or away from Imam Hussein? Where do you want to stay in Akhirat? That height that you gain there is all decided here. That's all of that is decided here. So now it's the height of life that gives value to the life of this dunya. Now it's like, man, I only have a few moments to achieve whatever I want to achieve. You only have a limited amount of time. And that's why what we are discussing about life and the height of life is that a smart person, which you all are, an intelligent person, which you all are, will make a decision that I will spend my life where I can get most out of my time. If you have two job offers, one that offers you $15 an hour, the other one that offers you $100 an hour. Now, you would be like, well, this is more worth my time. So it's smart that you choose that, right? It's not smart that you choose to work in McDonald's or Burger King for the rest of your life. You want to grow a little bit more than just being a cashier at some Walmart, right? You want to be more than that, right? Because of the fact that you want to utilize your time in such a way that I am getting most out of my time. It's only smart that you do that. So why don't we do that in life? In the hours that we have, the 24 hours, how much are we thinking that this time I need to spend on this because it's worth more for me? Are we living like that? Then a person who doesn't live like that, what would you call him? A loser. Yes, he's a loser. But why is he a loser? Because he's making dumb decisions. He's spending his time in useless activities that is not getting him that much benefit. Is that useful now? It won't be useful. That's why when Allah speaks about aql in the Quran, that smart people understand my deen, deen is for those who are smart. It doesn't mean they're educated or have PhD and all these things. It means a person who's better able to use his time. That's what deen is for. That's who get the benefit of this. And so now when we look at the height, that's where you see where we want to find out what is the best place for me to be. And, alhamdulillah, right, when you look at those things that have been mentioned in hadith, we will see that, the greatest things that you can do to get most out of your time. Some things are very difficult, I mentioned. I mentioned to you that there are some things that are almost impossible. Like, for example, it is said that one of the things that is the best action in this world is Hubbe Ali. Is the love of Ali. But it's very difficult. It's not for everyone. Right? It's not for everyone. Not everyone can do that. If you look in history, few people have achieved that. One of them being Fatima Zahra. And I said, she was in love with Imam Ali. She's in love with Imam. Or, for example, we have an example that is given by Ahlulbait, which is Maysam. Maysam, amongst the companions of Imam Ali, is known as a lover of Ali. Malik was not known as a lover. He was known as a follower. Maysam was known as a lover. There's a difference. Now, the difference between a follower is someone who does whatever the Imam says, which is good. A lover is someone who cannot think anything except for Imam Ali in his life. This is a lover. Someone who's just drowned. who cannot think of anything else. Everything else is pale, it doesn't matter. His life is just, then you know that you're in love. And that's why love is only for brave people, for people who have courage and shujaat. Cowards cannot love. And hence that path is not for everyone. So when we look at the path that we can do or that we can achieve, you see that every place where there's a difference, there is a difference between an individual action and a social action. We see that Allah says, spend your time in social actions. Things that are related to people. Some people think that manaviyat, rohaniyat, spirituality comes from praying a lot or making lots of dua. And you see that they have built, paths called Sufism and all kinds of things. Even some Shias think that there's Sufism in Islam also, or in Shia Islam, And they start to do those things, right? And they think they get spirituality out of that. My friends, when you, for example, hear a good story, you feel good. You don't become good. There's a difference between feeling good and becoming good. If you feel good, it doesn't mean that you're good. I can tell you a nice story right now and you're like, subhanAllah, I feel good right now. It doesn't make you grow spiritually. What makes a person grow spiritually and stronger is when he actually becomes good, even though he doesn't feel good. He becomes good. Really, I can give you hard examples. Let me just make you ready right now, right? It's a hard example. My friends, really, Imam Hussein did not feel good when he saw Ali Asghar shot in his hands. He did not feel good. But the height that he reached, looking at that, is incapable for us to comprehend. That's how you become. Becoming good is something else. It's something that we don't like. Things that really are hard for us to do. Whenever you see things that are hard for us to do, you know that is where your growth is. This is a principle you should keep in mind. Where do you grow the most? Wherever you see that this is difficult for me. If this is difficult for me, then there's growth in this. Then I'm going to become something great if I do this. I'm going to grow if I do this. If it's too easy, then you know there's not that much benefit for you. That's why, for example, if you go and pray in a solitude and a nice environment, with itar and oud and everything around you, you feel good in your prayer. But if you have to pray with kids shouting around you and making noise and all these things, you don't feel good, but there's more growth here. There's more growth here. Understand it. It's more difficult. People have the wrong idea of spirituality, that they look for feeling good when they should be looking for things that are difficult that will make me good. And this is why we don't grow. A lot of people have this idea. Let me give an example, a Sufi example, if you will. It's not a Sufi example. It's an example that is written by Sadi, poet, right? And he wrote this example in his book. It's regarding a bangle seller. Even nowadays you go there, right? They have these bangle sellers. They sell bangles. Ladies come there usually to buy the bangles and all these things, and obviously it is a profession where men have to sell bangles to women because their only customers are women, Yes. Nowadays, yes, men. Especially on the West Coast. So we got used to it. But, those days, it used to be only women, right? So what happened is that, now, this bangle seller, his brother, the seller of the bangle, his brother used to be a very holy person. He used to be a monk who used to pray all the time. He was living in a cave and he would spend all his time there in du'as and prayers. Very holy person. He came to visit his brother who was at the store. Now the brother had to make a delivery. So he told the brother that if you can just wait here for a minute, watch over my store, I'll go and make this delivery and come back. I'll make this delivery and come back. So he went there to make the delivery. The brother was, the holy brother, was watching over the store, and a customer came. And a customer came. And that customer came there, and you see that, the lady came and said, I want to try that on. He said, the owner's not here, but I want to try it on right now. Just you show it to me. He says, oh, okay, so he took the bangles and she, what's the habit is, she extended her arm and he looked at the arm and he's like, now, all like, what do I do? And then all of a sudden, he's like losing his mind. Unable to think, losing his balance and shaking. All of a sudden, all these things, right? So now, this whole thing happens, and I just want to end it there. The brother comes back. The brother comes back, and he sees that that his older brother, or the holy brother, is all like shaking and all these things. He says, "What happened?" He says, how can you do this? Every day you do this. Aren't you affected? This is what happened to me. Aren't you affected? He says, no, I'm not affected by this. But this is what happened to me. And at that moment, the realization came that this brother who is interacting and socially involved in things, he has much stronger taqwa than this person who has been praying all his life. That a little thing like this can sway him and can create havoc in his mind. Why is that? What happened to all those years of prayer? Can't you control yourself? Aren't you able to know who you are? You can't. Why? Because that's not growth. This is not growth. Making all these du'as and prayers, you see, that's not how you grow. A person who's socially interactive is always growing more than a person who is living like a monk. And from there you understand, in amongst the community you'll see some people who are very holy and praying all the time. You know that this person is weak. And that's why you see when you hear the Qawwali, right? Qawwali, they always talk about sheikhs. Right? In the Qawwalis, they talk about sheikhs, and they make jokes about sheikhs. It's because of this. Because they think that they're strong, but they're not. They're weak. And the people who are living a life that is normal. A person, for example, he left his wife and kids because he heard a lecture from Imam Ali. And it affected him. And he left everything behind and went and started to pray all the time. He says, no need for dunya, no need for work, no need for responsibility. We just have to pray now. We just have to do these things now. So what happened, he went out there somewhere to pray. The wife, after a while, she saw that the husband is not here. Who did this to my husband? Well, Ali did this. So she came to Imam Ali. He said, Maulana, what did you do to my husband? What do you do to my husband? My husband's not even here and she's not doing things and responsibility. The kids are here and we have nothing in our house. What's going on here? And Imam Ali learned that this person did this. And he was so upset and angry, he went there to that person and confronted him. And he asked him, what are you doing this for? But this is the way that I get closer to Allah, this and that. Now, Imam Ali responded to him, and I want you to listen to his response because it's a principle of life that I want to give you. Principle of life, and keep that in your mind all the time. Imam Ali said that if this is the way of getting stronger and closer to Allah, then the first person who would have done this would be Rasulullah. Did you see Rasulullah ever leaving a responsibility and running away? Hiding somewhere and doing these things? Did you ever see him do that? And you don't see him do that. And that shows that growth is not in this. And that's how Imam Ali just nullified the whole idea of Sufism and threw it into the garbage. Just like that. This is not the way it is. You got to live a life. You have to be involved. That's how you're growing. Allah created this life and the world that we're living in with all the things that are in it, knowing that your growth is because of these things. That's why He made it. Otherwise, why would Allah have made these things? To hurt you? To put you down? To play games with you? To tease you? No, Allah is not doing these for these things. He did it, so this is your growth in this. And if you leave it and go away, then it means you stopped growing. You might feel good, but it's not the way. So my friends, when you look at the height of life is in involvement in social things. And the higher you go, the harder it becomes. Until you come to the greatest thing that you can get involved in, the greatest thing you can get involved in for your spiritual growth, and it's called politics. Yes, politics is the single most spiritual jump a person takes that brings him to Imam Hussein. Single most jump. Those who are not involved cannot be with Imam Hussein. I will write it down and I'll show it to you. You cannot. You have to be involved. Politics in Islam is defined, I'm defining it by two things, tawalla and tabarra. This is politics. Tawalla and tabarra. These are wajibat. Allah said that your actual growth is here. It starts with prayer, fasting, all these things, but the greatest growth comes at the end. Because the most difficulty is there. More than jihad, there's more difficulty in tawalla. More than jihad in Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi al-Munkar, there's more difficulty in tabarra. This is the most difficult thing. And that's where the growth is. That's where the growth is. Tawalla means doing whatever is in your power to support, to aid, to enhance, to put forward the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And tabarra means to distance yourself, to fight against, to oppose, to conflict with any force in wilayat that is against the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that's why when we, for example, now are living our life, Allah has said, you want to make the greatest jump? Then here it is. Support your Imam in establishing his wilayat. The wilayat could be many things. It's the assets of Imam Ali. By Imam Ali, I mean Ahlulbait. Because we are doing the shahadat of Imam Ali, I'm just taking the name of Imam Ali. By Ahlulbait, and specifically Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah. Doing that, one is the asset, increasing it. You should spend yourself and your money and put your efforts in increasing his assets. Why? Because these assets are his. And that's his wilayat. And from there it begins, like the masjid, center, whatever it is. You put one brick in it, you are helping in the extension of his wilayat. The other thing is that you extend his deen and his message by learning and teaching and giving it to others. That's why, for example, Hausa students and students who are in the Hausa and ulama are the ones who are actually spreading the deen. And it says over here that if you cannot learn, because not all of us have the chance or the ability to go and study, right? I know it. How many Hausa students are there in America? Or, of all the Shias that we have here, you can count your Hausa students on your fingers. These are the people who made it, And there's so many blockages and obstacles for students to come and learn. So obviously you see that if you aren't able to go and study, then Allah says, don't worry, you can also be that. You can also become a part of that movement by helping a student, by helping him learn and study. And you will become part in that knowledge. That's how you extend the wilayat of Ahlulbait. The fact is that we want to make the wilayat of our Imam global. Everyone should be under it. That is our goal. That is the goal of Ghadir. That is the goal of Karbala. To bring everyone under the umbrella of the wilayat that Allah has kept for them. That's our goal. That's what we have to do. And everything that you do, is going to bring opposition. You think that everyone's going to be happy with that? Yes. They're not going to be happy with that. I mean, you try to do that, you'll have your Shimrs, your Ibn Ziyaz, your Ibn Sa'd, and then on top of that, Yazid. I mean, yes, you have the dirty people, which is the Shimr. He's the dirty guy, he has blood on his hand. Right? You see that, so his crime is like really clear. Okay, man, you have blood on your hand, you're a culprit. Right? But you have Ibn Sa'd also in the back, and you have a video of him shooting an arrow. So he's responsible. And then you have, when you go a little bit more, right? Then you have Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad is, an office bearer. He's an office bearer. He sends the lower people for dirty work. Go and do the dirty things, this and that. And then on top of that, you have Yazid in the suit and tie. Vice President. Right? The Yazid is that suit and tie guy who doesn't get involved in anything. You don't have any proof of him doing anything. Right? Nothing, right? He is that guy, who's like, for example, not getting involved in anything. It's terrible what they did to you, I mean, that's what he told, right? It's terrible what they did to you. I didn't want them to do that. It's terrible. These people, they have no sense, I should train them more. But what I mean by that is that he should have killed you also. The fact is that when you look at Yazid, that's Yazid. So now you have opposition from all these sides. And now we have been giving these lessons by Imam Hussain, by our Shuhada, by Ahlulbait, that how to recognize these enemies. And when you recognize them, then your job is to do whatever you can to weaken their establishment. You might not have the power to bring it down, of course not. But you do have whatever it takes to do cause some weakness in there. And you can do that even by raising a voice. Even by raising a voice. Even by writing a book, even by writing an article, even by writing poetry that has meaning in it, so that it makes people know that we are free and independent. Hussain made us free. It is a job of everyone, not just the ulama, right? Ulama, yes, true. But even those who write poetry, those who say poetry, when they come out with poetry, say it and write it so that the people understand and they can get enlightened and inspired to be free men, free people. Because when you become a free man, no one can enslave you. You will die, but you will not become a slave. And if you are a slave, then you know what? Yes, Yazid is the one who's going to put you, and you won't even know that. You will be taking the name of Hussain, but you will be working for Yazid. That's what happened. We have examples of that, actual examples of Shias in the time of Imam Hussain who refused to fight with Imam Hussain, repented after that, but then, they ended up in the army of Shimr. In the army of Shimr, when he was fighting against Mukhtar. There were Shias who fought for Imam Hussein and ended up in the army of Shimr. Can you believe that? And so what happened is that this is why when you come into politics, it becomes difficult. And when it becomes difficult, that's where the greatest spiritual gain comes. Then you become a Malik-e Ashtar. You know? You see, there were many other people who loved Imam Ali and they're around him, right? But you don't hear their names. For Malik-e Ashtar, you know what Imam Ali said? He said, Malik, you are the same to me like I was to Rasulullah. Now, you had that keen insight into what's going on. You know what I'm doing because you are smart enough. You are able to understand. I need people like you. And that's what we need, my friends. Send a salawats. I'll let you do your good deed, you know. Yes, you know. You know, it is amazing how when we look at deen, how it comes. Our height of deen is from these things. How to become great. Involve yourself in social activities. People, for example, who want to serve the masjid, is very good. You serve the masjid, alhamdulillah, Allah will reward you for it, and you do that. But you know what? Those who take responsibility for the masjid, their rewards are higher. Yes. You know, you want to serve tea, that's great. There's reward for that. You want more for your time, then become the secretary or treasurer or president. Because it's very simple. If you serve the tea, the only complaint you get is there's not too much sugar. You know? But if you become the president, oh yes, even the chai complaint comes to you. Even the chai complaint comes to you, you know? What happened? The chai wasn't good nowadays, you know? Aren't you spending money on good chai? You know, buy this one, don't buy that one, you know? Everyone comes and gives their 2 cents to the president. He has to bear the headache. All the complaints, all the things comes to him. You think this is for free? My friends, these complaints that you're getting as a president is not for free. There's a reward, a compensation you're getting from Allah for this. The compensation you're getting from Allah for this, that's why you like that. When you look at some hadiths, you know, a lot of times we don't understand hadiths, but I want to explain life so you understand it. When Imam Hussein said, this is Imam Hussein's statement, right? Send a salawat for him. See what he said. And you know the statement he made. It's written on t-shirts and everywhere, right? You know, that we have. Imam Hussein said that if the deen of my grandfather, if the only way that the deen of my grandfather is going to be saved with my blood, if that's the only way, then oh swords, come and take a piece of me, cut a piece out of me. Come and cut me up. You know, come on, cut me up. Because if that's what it means what? That if I have to stand up for right and this is what I'm going to get out of this, then come on. Then I want this. I want you to cut me up. Because that's what it requires. When you stand up for the right, you're going to get opposition. People are going to jeer you, make faces at you, say things to you. Maybe, you know, they might harm you, complain about you, send you to the authorities or whatever it is. There are complaints, but you want to stand with Imam Hussein. If that is our goal, then these are things we should say, then come on. Bring me what you can. That's what it means. So the greatest height is achieved by that. You want to know who's at the highest places in Jannat? It's these people. These are the people who are up there. Because they are a part. They were important for Imam Hussein. When Imam Hussein said, Hal min nasirin yansurna, is there anyone who will help me? You know, helpers are different. Helpers are different, Some people, they come and, and I know it because I take ziyarat groups and I see the people making their du'as and wishes, and it's fine. People go to Imam Hussein and, they have like list of things that they want to ask, du'as and things that they're asking their children to save, really, a lot of people I know make dua for, their children especially, and to make them better, to make them good, which is all good, and alhamdulillah, you do that. But I ask these people, okay, one thing, just keep in mind, Imam Hussein loves you. Imam Hussein loves you, and if you ask him that, he's going to do, and he's going to give you that. But is it what Imam Hussein is looking for? Are you the Shia that Imam Hussein is looking for? There are certain Shias who go to Imam Hussein, the ziyarat, said, Imam, I don't want anything from you. I'm here to give you whatever you need. I'm here to help you. And when I asked them that, why are you saying that to the Imam? He says, because I made a dua for my children, that Allah, that Imam helped them to be strong and healthy, this and that. But I realized that how can I make this dua when Ali Akbar was done like that? Imam Hussein gave all his children for us. And here we are making dua that instead of giving our children to him, we are asking him to keep our children safe. What is my relationship with my Imam? Sometimes when you actually look at these things, then you start to wonder, truly Imam Hussein gave everything. What else can we ask him to give? Imam, I don't want you to give anything else. You gave everything you have. And here I am, who am I? And you gave it for me? No, I'm here to give you whatever I can. Give you that, whatever I can. My friends, really, when you come to the azadari of Ahlulbait in this place, your minds and hearts are heightened and your thoughts are greater. Is there anyone who sits here and listens to the shahadat of Ali Akbar and says, I'm so glad it wasn't my son? Really, then you haven't understood, right? If you do that. I'm sure there's no one like that. We all say, may our children be sacrificed for you. May our children be sacrificed for you. All of us be sacrificed for you. You gave everything. La ilaha illallah. Let us go, my friends. Let's go to Kufa. Let's go to Kufa. Imam Ali is lying down in his deathbed. Zainab is holding the right hand of Imam Ali. Imam Ali has knowledge of what's going to happen in the future. He would say that Rasulullah has informed me. And he has told. He has told Zainab also. But when he sees Zainab crying for him, and she's crying uncontrollably, then Imam Ali just wonders what will happen to Zainab when she sees Hussein in Karbala. Our salam be on Zainab. That when Zainab saw Hussein in Karbala, her whole body started to shudder and shake. And she was looking at Imam Hussein as Imam Hussein was being slaughtered. The reason that she was shuddering, not because they were slicing Imam Hussein's neck. If that was the case, it would be a comfort for Zainab that, they were decent in killing Imam Hussein. But no, she was shuddering because they were slaughtering Imam Hussein from the back of his neck. And in order to kill him, they were striking his neck to break his backbone. Imam Ali saw that scene through the eyes of Zainab. Everyone was holding Imam Ali, and Imam Ali, that father, the compassionate father who was always looking after others and considerate of others, is trying to tell them, relax, everyone, be comforted. I am leaving. Just make sure that my death is a sign for all of you that we all have to go before Allah. We all have to leave here and go. He was saying that to them, and then as that moment came, Imam Ali then closed his eyes. And when Imam Hassan, he took Imam Ali and said, announced to the people that your father is no more. As they started to now prepare his funeral, and get everything ready. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, both of them working to make sure everything is done right. And as things are done right, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, they both come and they wait for a time, and then the coffin is ready. They wait for a time, and Jibrail and Mikael descend from the sky, and Jibrail and Mikael says, Allah has sent us with orders, and they take the coffin of Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein holding the other side, and they start walking. If you have been to Kufa, you will know that Najaf, where Imam Ali is buried from, Kufa, is not a small distance. It is at least 25 minutes by car, and then you go there, you will see how far it is. They keep walking and walking until they come to the opportune place. On the right side you see the grave of Adam, on the left side you see the grave of Nuh, and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein with Jibrail and Mikael pick the body of Imam Ali, put it inside the grave, and they put there, and then as they cover the grave, they hide it so no one knows where it is. They know the enemies are there. Imam Ali had stood up and had made many enemies even today. But then Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein make sure that the grave is unknown. And then they are coming back. And then when they're coming back, they see that there's a cry coming from the desert. A cry is coming from the desert. Imam Hassan sees this crying, and he sees, I will go and check what this crying is, he tells Hussein. And he goes to see where this crying is coming from. In the middle of this barren desert, there's a small little rotten tent, and he comes to that tent, and he sees that the voice is emanating from this tent. He comes inside the tent, and he sees an old leper, an old man with leprosy, wrapped around with wounds all over him. He is almost half alive. He was such a person that you wouldn't even want to get close to. He had disease all over, and he is crying. Imam Hassan said, what are you crying so loud for? He is blind in his eyes. So he tells Hassan that, where have you been? You haven't been here for 3 days. You know what I've been going through for 3 days. Imam Hassan said, but I never came here before. He said, but there's someone who used to come here every day, look after me, treat my wounds, give me food, and he would go away. I want to see him again. He's been gone for 3 days. Imam Hassan understood and said, that's my father. Allah la'natullah. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون يا محمود بحكي محمد يا علا بحكي علي يا فاطر السماوات بحكي فاطمة يا محسن بحكي حسن يا قديم الحسن بحكي حسين. Allah give us the tawfiq to be on the right paths, the wisdom to understand His guidance, hasten the reappearance of our Imam, make us His helper when He comes. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.